See, that's what I want somebody to do with this data set. I want somebody to create like animals or environment or elections or something like that, and be able to sort of because a lot of times the exact language of the
Andrew, do you want to do the Congress.gov part, or Robert? Do you want to use this, or I can log put you on whatever works. If you want to this one or yours.
Yours. That's
okay,
fine.
that's fine. Great. I pulled up the Safari. Okay.
So the data set is downloadable, so anybody can download it and tag it. There's not like a archives version of it that is available for tagging for me. Like the full catalog is, that doesn't have it, but anybody can do it themselves or start a project to do it themselves. I'm hoping that some professors in there has a bunch of interns. So I will do that.
Do you want to sit? I can read that.
So action.
Sure. I'm Andrew Weber from the Law Library of Congress, and this is Robert Brammer, also from the Law Library of Congress. We're going to demo a couple of the websites the Law Library has that has some nice primary source material related to some of the amendments. Robert's going to first talk about the century of lawmaking, which is the first century of documents from Congress, and after he's done, we do a little tutorial on how to use the site. You know, help? I don't know. Okay, there we go. I'll show Congress.gov, the more modern site that has recent legislation, some of the recent failed amendments or not successful amendments. And I'll kind of show you how you can do a nice search and pass it with the system. So, how's that? Okay, so Century of Lawmaking for a New Nation is a Library of Congress site that contains a variety of congressional documents for the years 1774 to 1875. There's some variation between the collections on the site, but for the most part, that's the coverage. That includes documents from the Continental Congress, congressional statutes, predecessors to the congressional record, bills and resolutions, congressional journals, and there's a few links to Century from Wikipedia, but not too many, so we're hoping to add to that. For Amending America, we're focused on the statutes at large and bills and resolutions collection. The House coverage in bills and resolutions, I'll go ahead and click on bills and resolutions over here on the left. The House collection begins with the 6th Congress. The Senate joint resolutions, which is what we're concerned with since we're dealing with constitutional amendments, begins with the 18th Congress, and the Senate joint resolutions are actually in a separate collection on here. So if you click on bills and resolutions, over here on the left, you see you can search or browse. I would choose the browse option. I go ahead and choose to browse the House. And just by way of an example, usually you're going to start with the time period. You're editing a page that deals with a particular time period where an amendment was proposed and you want to link to something. So you match the Congress with that time period, and you see under Congress you have dates that you can browse. I'm going to go ahead and choose the 17th Congress, second session. Here I am, 17th Congress, second session, and I'm going to choose the keyword browse option. And so this gives you kind of a little index that you can then just Control F or Command F through for Constitution. You'll get some results that aren't relevant, like if Congress is reviewing a state's constitution, but for the most part, Constitution is a pretty quick way to browse these results. So here's one right here that deals with proposing an amendment to the Constitution dealing with bankruptcies. Click on that. So then you get a little abstract, and then if you click through, you can actually view a scan. And this is what you want to link to. So this is the first page, and then if you click next image, you can go to the next page of the joint resolution. Okay, let me go back. So the bills and resolutions collection is good when you're dealing with an amendment that was proposed but did not pass both houses of Congress. So that's where you'd look for one of those. We're looking for one that did pass both houses of Congress and was proposed to the states for ratification, but even if it wasn't ratified, then you can go to the statutes at large collection. The statutes at large collection on here covers 1789 to 1875. And again, I'm going to go ahead and choose to browse over here on the left. And the best way to browse this is use the index. For the first 8 volumes, there's a comprehensive index that covers all the volumes. You can access that up here. And again, you can just Control F or Command F for Constitution. Here's an entry, Constitution of the United States, amendments proposed. The numeral means the volume. So here, volume 1, page 97 and 98 have provisions dealing with constitutional amendments. And then you've got some that were adopted, volume 1, 21, and 22. That is, of course, the Bill of Rights, as you'd expect. So that's comprehensive indexes for the first 8 volumes of the statutes at large. The ones after that on the site have indexes for the individual volume. So then you might wonder, well, what do you do after 1875, but before the mid-90s? The mid-90s forward, mid-1990s forward is what Congress.gov covers. And this covers up to 1875. You can actually go to law.gov, the Law Library of Congress site. We've digitized a lot of the statutes at large that fill in that gap. So on law.gov, and this is on the Wikipedia Edit-a-thon page. I've added this to the general resources at the bottom, so you have a quick link to this. This is where you can find statutes from U.S. statutes at large from 1876 to 1993 to fill in that gap between century lawmaking and Congress.gov. We also have a link on the Wikipedia Edit-a-thon page that will provide discussion of what happened to a proposed joint resolution, a proposed constitutional amendment from, let's see, so the founding to 1889. It gives discussion of where it was debated, how far it went in the process, and it's in the appendices of the book, this link to Wikipedia Edit page. So that's a basic overview of how you can use Century and law.gov to link to in these for an amendment. And now Andrew's going to talk about Congress.gov, which covers the mid-1990s forward.
Thanks, Robert. So just to show of hands, how many people have used Congress.gov? I think that's over half. So I'm just going to do a little bit of an intro, but I think I'll keep it kind of brief. Congress.gov is a site the Library of Congress has been working on for the last couple of years. It's the primary source for legislative information for Congress. It also has congressional record, pages on committees. But one thing that it has, in addition to what the predecessor site, Thomas, has, is it's much more robust advanced search. So I linked to, from the Wikipedia page, this search, and this is a really, really highly curated search for things that are proposed amendments. You can kind of see proposed amendments in here, and also all the balanced budget amendments, kind of like the language is set up for this exact phrase. the various ways that people are put this in. So it's not 100% accurate search, but it's a very nice search. So you can see there are over 3,000 items in Congress.gov. One great thing about the system is you can search across Congresses really easily. So you can start to get a bigger sense of what's going on in more than just this current Congress, but what's been going on lately. And so with Congress.gov, there are a lot of different ways for you to take a look at the data. You can see, if we look at the status of all of these 3,000, only one actually passed both chambers. If you click on it, it's actually not one that's an actual amendment. It's one about printing fewer numbers of the proposed amendments. So let's also look at each item in Congress.gov has subject matter experts that tag it with one specific policy area. So if you want to see kind of at a macro view what the different amendments that are in here are proposed, the topic, primary topic, economics and public finance, government operations, Congress, so you can kind of get a sense for what are people currently proposing amendments for. You can also look at the chamber and see there are a lot more members of the House, there are a lot more proposed by members of the House versus 500 or so a Senate. One of my favorite things to kind of look at with this set of data is the sponsors. You see Jesse Jackson Jr. proposed the most from the House, and Strom Thurmond proposed the most in the Senate. So you take a look at some of these and see Strom Thurmond and Jesse Jackson Jr. might propose slightly different amendments. So if you click on one, fast sits down, it takes this 3,000 result set down to the 56 that were sponsored by Jesse Jackson Jr. And we coincided this weekend. This weekend, we're shutting all of our systems down with a nice big power outage. So as people are preparing for that today, some of our sites have been going just a little bit slower than normal. So it doesn't normally take quite this long for something to load. Hopefully, as you're looking through things later on this afternoon, it doesn't take this long. Okay, so now we're down to items that Jesse Jackson Jr. proposed. If you just kind of scan through proposal, right to full employment, balanced growth, taxing the people progressively, clean, safe, and sustainable environment, you can also start to see like are things being introduced in similar different Congresses, like the same person introducing the same thing over and over again. So you really can start to see this. So there's Jesse Jackson's. You can cross X off him and kind of go back. One thing that was mentioned, I think, yesterday evening was repealing Citizens United. You can check now to see have there actually been proposals to the Constitution repealing Citizens United. We have a search within box up here, so you can start with this as kind of your baseline search, and then if you want to see if there's something within this whole result set, there you go. You can do like a search for Citizens United, and search within the results set. You should be able to see once this loads that there have been a couple recent Congresses where there have been calls for a constitutional amendment for returning Citizens United. Such as SJRES 4, an amendment to the Constitution, restore the rights of the people that were taken away by the Supreme Court's decision in Citizens United. So you can see not much has happened to this, but this is a good example of what an item looks like in Congress.gov. So this is the default is summary. It kind of shows what's happened. Not a lot has happened. It's been read, referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. And back when we were on the previous page, if we looked at committees, you could see both the House and Senate. The Judiciary committees are where these go. Each item here has a text, so you can read the entire text of the proposal as well. The default tab is a summary. The summary is also written by staff in the Library of Congress. People in the Congressional Research Service read through the text, and then we'll draft a summary. Our Actions tab kind of takes you through what's happening. Most of the items in this results at 3,000, there's not a lot that's happened, so there aren't a lot of actions. But each item on Congress.gov legislation and resolutions kind of have this same kind of standard page. And if you're interested in, say, this particular item, because we're shutting down, our accounts are temporarily unavailable, but there would normally be a little link right here that says get alerts for items in the current Congress. So you could subscribe and then be notified when there's changes. So right now it's just a proposal, maybe it's moving a little bit forward. You could get email alerts anytime something happens to this particular item. And the same thing going back to the search constitutional amendments, you can set up and save that search as well if you're interested in being alerted in the future when something else gets added to that result set. And you could also get an email for that too. So it's actually going quite slow. One other section on Congress.gov that has information, is also information drafted by some of the people in CRS, the Congressional Research Service, is something called Constitution Annotated. So with that, it takes the Constitution, it looks at Supreme Court cases that have interpreted different parts of the Constitution, and it's essentially like a 2,000-page treatise that talks about what each amendment and each part of the Constitution, how it's been interpreted by the Supreme Court. And that page, there's a historic documents section. And one of the first items when you click on the historic documents section is to the Constitution Annotated, where you can pull that document up or pull up section, article, more detail. Any questions about centuryofcongress.gov? It's kind of going much slower than what I was anticipating, so it's kind of thrown off my what I was going to show. But questions? Okay, so apologize for the sites today of all days. It's not fun, but
That's right.
okay. Maybe it's not.
Yeah, we're working.
You haven't started talking yet.
So I think that's it. Robert and I will both be here throughout the day. If you have any other questions or it's starting to work a little faster and there's something on there you pull up you want to ask about, I'm happy to try and help answer as well. So that's it.
So lunch should be here soon, but we can go ahead and start editing. It seems like the more advanced Wikipedia editors are over on that side of the room. So maybe if you need help, I'm sure you can ask somebody. We can all help each other with the editing. But there are lots of articles to edit, take you to the Legislative Archives for the Legislative Archives staff for getting all those articles that we need to edit onto, or doing all the background research for the editing onto our web page and take you to Robert. That's our Wi-Fi fault too. We're working on our Wi-Fi